Now, one problem that I may have is, or you may have, is maybe you've done your animation, but you're not happy with that animation. There are two things that you can do, and this is in terms of how fast your animation's performing. So my problem is that it's taking too long to light up and then dim back down again. So I can either move the keyframes closer to each other, or I can increase the frame rate. I think I'm going to increase the frame rate for this one just to show you how it's done. So I've come to the camera settings, and under dimensions we have things such as the resolution and the frame run, it says, which is basically how long the frame runs for. And just below the frame run we have frame rate. It's by default set to 24, but we have a series of options going all the way up to 60. Now, make a note that the higher your frame rate, the more frames per second, the longer it would take to do a specifically timed animation. So, for example, a animation where you're running at 30 frames per second will render much faster than a animation that lasts for 1 minute but is also 50 frames per second. Because basically, simple bit of maths, if you're going to do a 1 minute animation, 30 frames per second, you are looking at 60 seconds. That's 180, that's 1,800 frames that have to be rendered for your animation. Sounds a lot. If you were to go 50 frames a second, 50 times 60 is 3,000 frames. So just by changing the frame rate from 30 to 50, you've added an additional 1,200 frames that your computer will have to render in a single minute. That's a big increase. So for a lot of what you'll do, you'll probably want to stick to no more than 30. But for the purposes of this tutorial, I am going to make an exception and I'm going to click on 50. This way you can have an idea of how quickly the timeline will move. So we're going to press play, and we can see the green bar does move quite quickly now, and as does the animation. In fact, that's about perfect. I think if I increase that to 60 it would be too fast, so I think that's perfect.